Hello EOS community, this is Roman from CryptoLions. I am on a working vacation of a few days down in Odessa, Ukraine. Very appropriately, the sun has risen behind me. Appropriate because EOS, as you probably know, is the Greek goddess of dawn. So I wanted to give a sort of governance overview, and I wanted to do that for three reasons. First of all, it's so doggone interesting. EOS is the first governance-first blockchain. I would go as far as to call it a sort of trans or extra-national digital republic. Secondly, it has been a very interesting few days. And thirdly, a token holder recently contacted me. She found me in the CryptoLions Telegram channel, which you can link to from our webpage, CryptoLions.io, and you can also ask me questions. But it became clear in my very brief discussion with her that I have taken for granted how easy it is to keep track of everything that's happening in EOS. And it is an awful lot that's happening. I have been immersed in EOS for over 3 months, so for me it may not be that hard, but for token holders for whom, this is not their main thing, for them it might be quite challenging. So I thought I would improve communication. So here I am communicating. Okay, what happened in the last few days? Well, some awesome block producer teams, not CryptoLions, but many of our friends, they put in a ton of effort, completely of their own initiative, when they started to sense that some Ethereum accounts had been hacked before the snapshot of EOS tokens. They did a lot of personal contact with the victims. They asked the victims for evidence that they are the owners of particular addresses. And these teams, you can look them up, EOS 911. These teams said, hey, we will submit the first arbitration case to the EOS Core Arbitration Forums, ECAF. Let us fix these hacked accounts. They submitted the evidence and said, hey, we think we should freeze these accounts, look more closely, and determine who are the rightful owners of these EOS tokens. Great idea so far, great story so far, right? And then the EOS Core Arbitration Forum said, hold on, we're just getting stood up. We're not official yet. Can't do it. Sorry. Great idea, but we can't do it yet. So that put the block producers in an extremely difficult position because they wanted to help token holders for whom there was strong evidence of hacking and phishing schemes. But they didn't want to overstep their bounds, because how bad is that if block producers start ruling on things? And there's already been a little bit of, not a lot of FUD, but there's been a little bit of FUD that there's too much power on the top 21 block producers. That's not true, by the way, but it's out there. So what happened next? Well, there are regular block producer calls. By the way, there has been already block producers saying we're not going to go on these calls anymore unless we start recording them and sharing the recording, and CryptoLions supports that 100%. We do not need secrecy. We need a little bit of calm so we can work out our issues. We need to maybe control access to the meeting, but we absolutely do not need secrecy. And that seems like it's happening. We were not the initiators of that very strong push, but we supported 100%. So these BP huddles are getting recorded now and shared with a little time delay. So during one of these block producer huddles, there was a very intense debate. Should we freeze these accounts of our own initiative without explicit permission from EOS Core Arbitration Forums, ECAF, or should we just let hackers seemingly take these funds? So what were some of the arguments? The debate lasted over an hour, by the way. That's how difficult a decision this was, and there were very principled decisions made. I was extraordinarily impressed and extraordinarily proud of being part of this community. So the best argument I heard against freezing was kind of went like this. Look, we're just button pushers. We don't have any judicial authority to evaluate evidence. And as an alternative, we should just send part of the worker proposal system, part of the worker proposal funds, to sort of compensate the victims, sort of like saying, hey, I'm sorry, we weren't ready yet. We couldn't protect you. Some of the arguments for the freezing were like, look, we're not making a decision, we're just delaying a decision. We're buying ECAF a little bit of time to get stood up. Yeah, and there was not a small amount, not a large amount, maybe a moderate amount of outrage at ECAF for, or not even outrage, just like, hey, they dropped the ball. They're putting us in a very difficult decision. They're making us, look like we're doing a power grab. Look like we have to decide between helping people and doing a power grab. That's not cool, ECAF. But anyway, so long decision, unanimous decision was made by the block producers, by the top 21 plus a few, including CryptoLions, to freeze the accounts temporarily until ECAF can look at the evidence more closely and make make an opinion. ECAF, much to their credit, within 12 hours, it might have even been within 6 hours of this decision by the block producers, they came online and they said, you know what, we are legitimate, we are making a ruling or issuing an opinion, and in our opinion we should freeze these accounts. So they made it official. The block producers, and I think this came from, I think it was EOS New York, they've been a class act all the way, and I need to check with them if I can say this. I don't know if it's public yet. If I can't, I'll edit this out. But EOS New York, like the class act that they are, they put in an arbitration case against themselves and against all the other block producers who agreed to this. So they said, look, we'll freeze the accounts, but we'll also take ourselves to court for freezing the accounts because we're not sure that's legal. So class act all the way. Yeah, really, really good move, I think. And that's where we are with that. What else has been happening in sort of the governance part of EOS? Arbitration is getting stood up. In the EOS Go forums, you can find a post about how to nominate arbiters and about that process. The worker proposal fund, the system to manage it, is getting stood up. It's very early still. That'll be a long, meticulous process. Expect that within 6 months. Within 6 months, so by the end of 2018, maybe sooner. But that's going to happen very slowly and meticulously, as it should for a fund that big. Referendum contract is being built so that the community can vote on things, which is very needed. What else has been happening? Oh, we heard from Dan Larimer not too long ago. This was great. So part of being the governance blockchain is these Ricardian contracts that you may have heard about. Ricardian contract is a human language contract which specifies what some software is going to do. Why is that important? Okay, because software used to only manipulate information, but since the blockchain revolution began, software is now manipulating value. And it's become extremely important to tell people what this software does, and don't bury decisions deep in the code that only some programmer who also has a lot of time on his hands can read. So the Ricardian contract is stating the program, what the program does in human readable terms, in human readable ways. And Dan Larimer recently discussed with all the block producers that Block 1 is going to prioritize posting Ricardian contracts very, very clearly and very obviously to create that precedent that if anyone else builds a dApp on EOS or any kind of EOS software, that create the precedent that it will pressure them also to make the Ricardian contract very obvious. Class act. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. Last thing, There was also a short debate about ECAF's officialness. This came after they declared their opinion that the account should be frozen on the next block producer call, which is now being recorded and will be released to avoid any impression of secrecy. There was still a debate: is ECAF official? Because there has not been a referendum yet. Long discussion. This discussion for me personally was not as gripping as the discussion about freezing accounts, because to me it seemed like we were kind of just sort of treading water. But in the end, ECAF, it was decided that it's official enough even without a referendum. Nothing's perfect now, as this is Dan Larimer's words. Nothing's perfect, not the code, not the arbitration, not ECAF, not the Ricardian contracts, but it is good enough. So just like the block producers that initially booted the chain and then opened it up to an election, ECAF is sort of the appointed, which will then give way to the elected as soon as that's possible. I think that's the right way to go. And I think we can all allow a little bit of leeway, as long as everyone seems to be behaving in a fair, well-intended way. This is, after all, the first extra-national digital republic, and CryptoLions is thrilled and proud to be a part of it, and also humbled by what seems to be a fantastic group of people. Strongest community anywhere in crypto, in my opinion. And have a great day or night or whatever it is in your part of the world. Cheers.